And so it's also interesting. So then, when Jesus comes into the world, and he says stuff like this in John 6, that he's the bread of life. That's basically saying he is the provider. Like the person who gave the manna in the desert was him. He's the bread of life. He's the manna in the desert. He's the one that interpreted Joseph's dream for him. He is the provider. He's the bread. If it was written in the Japanese culture rather than the Jewish culture, he would have probably went with, "I am the rice of life." Like they ate bread every day. It was their main source of food, their main source of sustenance, their main source of provision. If they don't have bread, they don't live. So Jesus says, "I am the bread of life." So it's interesting that he's in the Sermon on the Mount, or when people at the beginning of the Sermon on the Mount, he also teaches the Lord's Prayer, and he says one line which is really important is, "Give us this day our daily bread." Be our provider this day is one of the things that we're supposed to ask for. He doesn't want us to ask for something really far and distant in the future, or something that is kind of like uncertain, but he wants each day to be able to provide for us. Give us this day our daily bread. Just like manna in the desert had to be collected one day at a time. But God is the provider, and he wants to provide for your life. He wants to pour into your life. He wants to be your sustenance. And what I'm saying is, if you're empty for this bread, if your stomach is empty to take in the bread, then you can receive it. But if your stomach is full, you don't have capacity for this bread. You need to maybe empty out the storehouses. Like Joseph is saying, like, there's going to be 7 years of plenty, 7 years of fasting, or like famine. So we better empty out what we do have in our grain bins so that we have plenty of room in our grain bins, because the storehouses need to be cleaned out to make room for these 7 years of plenty. Get the storehouses ready. Empty your vessel. See, sometimes when our bread basket is full of moldy bread, we need to empty the moldy bread empty our baskets in order to be able to receive our daily bread. And that's why Jesus is saying he is the bread. He says, "Give us this day our daily bread." See, the devil, he wants to talk about scarcity. Like, oh, there's never going to be enough, or we need to like stress out about inflation, or there's just never going to be enough. He's always putting up scarcity, but God the Father, Jesus, the bread, is saying, "No, I am your provider. I am your provider." Faith that abundance is promised, right? He says, the thief has come to steal, kill, and destroy. He's trying to steal your vision. He's trying to steal your hope. But God is like, "I have come that you might have abundance." And faith that abundance is promised is like just counting on your daily bread. Another example is like a lamp unto our feet. We don't get to see a very far distant future thing, but when we focus in on what he wants to give us, it's usually just a light bright enough down on our feet to make the next decision. Just the daily provision. So, make room for new.